everyone. Welcome or welcome back if you are finding me from my first video. Our numbers are small, but I am so thankful for each and every one of you. This is Harbor Shore Studio, my new Flosstube channel. And if you stumbled upon this video, one, I don't know how you got here, and two, Flosstube is a little part of YouTube where fiber artists, but mainly cross-stitchers, share their works in progresses, their finishes, and just everything we love about this craft. And just like the title says, this is my WIP parade. This is a video I wanted to originally start with. However, it's just not how it worked out, and that's okay. The first one was more of an introduction, and this is my WIP parade where you get to see everything that I am currently working on. I'm not sure when I am going to actually get this edited and uploaded, but just for reference, it is May 1st, 2024. So if you were doing Mania in some form or fashion, good luck. I am choosing to do kind of a combination of Mermay and Monogamous May. I'm going to start a brand new Filipina today, which will be part of my WIP parade, even though there's no stitches in it yet, and see how far I can get by the end of the month. I do have the one exception that I explained in my first video of still working on my Sal, which is the Lola Crow Deadly Aquarium. I looked it up this time. It is Deadly Aquarium, not haunted. Deadly. I will remember. And then just one last little note before we get started. This video is going to be longer, so hopefully I don't get too tongue-tied or stutter over my words, but I'm going to try to keep it as short and informational as possible. I also do have my notes kind of written in two separate areas on my computer and on my notebook, so if I'm looking down in this direction, it's just because I'm referencing that. But without further ado, let's get started. These projects aren't going to be in any certain order. I did not line them up chronologically, but they are still to an extent. It was more how it made sense in my mind to present these. And the first one I'm going to do is just my largest, simply to get it out of the way. It is my Frogwarts piece, and I am doing all 7 years on one piece of fabric. It is 28 count, and I'm stitching it over to Parchment by Fiber on the Whim, and it is huge. This is it folded in half. So I'm not gonna be able to get it all on frame, but I'll kind of scroll you down. This project I did not start until last May or June, sometime in there. I did participate in Frogwarts year 3, but I didn't have my fabric in time to actually stitch it at the retreat. So my goal last year was just to stitch down this side and work my way to year 4 so I could participate in some of the stitching challenges during the actual retreat. So, I mean, looking back, I didn't really get that far. I thought I did a lot during the retreat, but I really didn't. But it's kind of fun to see all the years slowly come together. My big goal of 2024 was to finish all of the years before the next retreat, year 5, that is taking place in July. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, Frogwarts is a retreat that is put on by the Black Needle Society, and it is all Harry Potter related, and we're going in order of the books. But because this piece of fabric is so huge, I'm gonna have to find a different way to stitch it. I am normally a Q-snap stitcher, but I kind of Frankenstein my frames together to where once I've stitched on a piece, I never put a Q-snap back over those stitches. I know people do that with beads a lot. I do it with all my stitches just because I think, at least for how I stitch, maybe I stitch loosely, it always kind of warps the stitches and pulls them. And even after ironing, it doesn't always come out well. I've heard if you wash it, they'll puff back up, but I stitch on a lot of hand-dyed fabric that you can't wash at the end. So I just make sure that my fabric stays as clean as possible as I'm stitching it, and then I don't put a Q-snap over it. I hope I'm gonna say this right. My plan is to buy an Almanac floor stand, but it is really hard to find large enough bars for that. I mean, they make them, but having a US shipper have them and ready to send, I'm hoping I even get it in time for Frogwarts. I have had the sidebars and the floor stand actually ordered, it's just not here yet. But as soon as that gets here and May is over, that is my stitching plan. So my next one is my one and only actual like store-bought kit. It is the Gold Collections Petite Mother's Pride. Sorry for the glare. And it is number 6960. I do talk about this one in my first video if you want more history on it. This is one that I had in high school and recently rebought and restarted last year. But if you type in Mother's Pride and you're looking for this, you're most likely going to find the one that's a big cat. It's a mother and cub big cat, unless you type in the number. So if you're looking for the horse one, you gotta type that number in. And again, it's 6960. And I just have a tiny little start on this one. It was for a fandom stitching challenge prompt last year, and I did start it. I have the note August 3rd, 2023. And it is just stitched on white 28 count. I believe it's a type of Evenweave. It's just something I bought at Hobby Lobby that was easy to get my hands on because I am choosing not to stitch this with the kit. Even though I bought it as a full kit, I wanted to stitch over 2 on a 28 count with DMC. So that is what I'm doing with that one. And the next set of patterns is actually a gift for my son. I cannot find a link anymore for these patterns. The next couple I'm going to talk about are kind of, I guess, casualties of the Russian patterns on Etsy that got taken down when all of that happened. If you do know where to find these patterns, please let me know and link it down below for other people. I've had other people ask before, and one person said they found them on, it's a website called My Bobbin. I know I visited, but I don't think I've ever bought anything off there. And I couldn't personally find them, but in my notes, they are just titled Dinosaur 1, Dinosaur 2. And this is technically Dinosaur 1, and it is the one that has the blue T-Rex going across it. And these are going to be stitched for my son, but I think it's going to be a restart. So this is 28 count Mushroom Lugana, and it's just something I bought off 123 Stitch, and I really like the idea of this fabric. The reality of it is I think it's just too slippery, and even putting fabric in between my Q-snap frame and the actual snap, it's still sliding and loosening constantly, and it's just kind of driving me nuts. So I think I'm going to order a hand-dyed linen to stitch those on. But the other pattern I have is kind of the second piece of fabric that I had started the original Dinosaur 2 on, and it left pretty bad holes when I pulled it out, so I started this full coverage on it to hide. And this is the Hogwarts Express postcard from Country Magic Stitch. And this is another one I'm considering a restart on. I thought my stitches looked bad, but looking back on it, I don't think it's too bad. It's a little dirty. I don't know if you can tell, there's some dirty stitches right here. And I don't know how that happened, so I'm normally pretty careful, to where this might just get ripped out and the fabric given away and restarted. I really like the idea of doing it on some kind of natural, so when I frame it, it has a slight yellow old parchment border on it to look like an actual old linen postcard. So maybe I'll order a 25 count just so they end up being a little bit smaller of the same type of fabric, or same color of fabric, definitely not the same type. And then my other pattern is also one that I can no longer find available. It is a series of 4 seasonal dragons, and in a perfect world I would have been more on top of it and actually got this ready for Year of the Dragon Sal, because I do want to stitch all 4 of them. And my original plan was to stitch them on white and just have them all framed side by side. But what I was doing, instead of stitching them over 2, I was stitching them over 1 on 28 count, so they'd be itty bitty. And I like this idea. It's cute. But going back, trying to figure out where I am, I've just kind of come to the realization I'm not a 28 count 1/1 stitcher. I want to be. I so want to be, but I'm not. My eyes can't see it, and it just hurts my hands too badly. So I did restart this, and you'll see this on my TikTok too, on, what weighs up? Yep, the same fabric, so it's just another 28 count white even weave 2/2. And then the intrusive thoughts happened. And I was like, wouldn't these be cool on an opalescent fabric in complementary colors? So the Winter Dragon is the one, I'm not sure. It might just end up on a white, but I'm thinking like the spring and summer would be on a yellow, pink, and maybe like an orange for the fall, and get them all on linen opalescent, which would mean this is technically would be my 4th restart, because this is not even my, this little one isn't even my first. This is my second of trying to do the little stitching. So I'm not sure what's going to happen to this. It will probably be quite a while before you ever see me talk about this one, but that's kind of where I'm at. And this was, the original start of this was actually during the January 6th, the disaster that was the United States. So it kind of doesn't have the best of memories attached to it either, which makes it hard to actually work on. Okay, now we're actually going to go into the projects I am actively working on. Hopefully no more restarts, except one. But projects that I have plans to actually stitch on and get some decent work on, where you'll see them on the channel. So this is the Cryptid Sal by the Witchy Stitcher. And I'll put a picture up here of the full one, and I'm going to try to put a picture too of where I was before the start of 2024. It is already May, so this isn't technically like a New Year WIP parade, but I was trying to remember to take pictures before I started on projects, just kind of thinking if I start a Flosstube, I'd want those. But this is where I'm at now. I had not pulled this out in years, but I pulled it out last month at the beginning of April and got some pretty decent work on it, I think. I'll have to look back at the picture and remember this was actually ripped out and restitched too, because I think I had that piece almost completely done in the original photo. And it is stitched on the called for 30 count Old Salem linen by Primitive Hare. And I think the only reason this one isn't done is I don't like the fabric. I hate to say that because it's gorgeous fabric, but it's like the linen in it is thinner than I'm used to, and it is a 30 count instead of a 28, so that would make sense that it's, no, it wouldn't make sense it's more open. It should be smaller. But it's just, maybe I'm trying not to pull too hard, but it always just seems to leave holes between my stitches, and I'm trying really, really hard as I'm stitching it to think, you know, loose stitches, and it's still just, I don't know, it still just kind of pulls funny. But it is one I really do want hung up in my house, so I'm gonna finish it. I am not gonna do the accompanying I think it's called Supernatural Sal, but I do want to do the little mini Cone of Doom that came with the end of this Sal. Next is my one and only current full coverage, but it probably won't stay that way for very long. I really do love Heaven and Earth designs. It is how I came back to cross stitching after not stitching for years as a child, and coming back to it in my late teens, early 20s. But I don't have any finished projects by them. So this one is Faces, oh, I have it. I always just call it Black Swan, so I never remember which one it is. It is Faces 201 by Jasmine Beckett Griffith, charted by Hare, and this is on 25 count antique white Lugana. And I just have a tiny little start there in the corner. And I do have plans of doing both the white and the Black Swan. Sorry, I'm going to try to get all these threads put together before I put it away. And this is been a journey to start this. So I was determined that I was 28 count 1/1 stitcher, and I've started this pattern probably a dozen times, getting a few hundred stitches in every time, losing my place, not being able to pull my thread through, and it just kept getting restarted. I am doing this kind of in a modified Royal Rose method. Royal Rose. I always want to say rose like the flower. It's not. It's row. Like you're rowing a boat. Pattern. And It's helping me know where to stitch and where to pull my threads to the side to be able to stitch over them, because I really like running my stitches through the back to secure my ends, and you just can't do that on that small fabric, and that's why that one took me so long to get started. But that's one I'm hoping I can work on more. All right, and then my first start ever at a Nora Corbett pattern. This is Blitzen, I believe. Yes, Blitzen. And this one is on 28 count Twilight blue linen. It's the called for Witchy fabric. And this is the only one that is going to be a restart. Sorry, I cut there so you wouldn't have to listen to the crinkling of the fabric. So this is another one that I did talk about in my first video in a little bit more detail, but this is what it's going to be restarted on. It is 28 count Dwarf linen by Picture This Plus, and it is opalescent. I am planning on doing the full series as my leap year project. So the goal is to get them all done by 2028. So I'm going to have to get going on that pretty soon and get a restart on that. But I will just say it in this video too, that if anyone wants to adopt little Blitzen and has the pattern, and then wants the extra piece of fabric that another whole reindeer would fit on, I would love to send it to someone to actually finish, because I can't throw him away. But I do want it restarted on the fabric of my choice. Okay. I hope that crinkling isn't too much. I gotta move some stuff around. Flosstubers always talk about all the stuff that's hanging around after WIP parades and just videos in general. They were not kidding. Okay, so this is the project that made me really, really decide cross stitch was my thing. I loved it. I wanted to keep with it. I really wanted to get involved with it. And it is Dark Queen of the Sea by Autumn Lane Stitchery. Now this is a sal that is very long overdue, but I did not start it till it was almost complete. I did start it in time to actually get the sal PDFs with all the different parts and options on it, which is great. I'm so happy I did that now. And I started it in June, right before the last couple parts came out. I want to say this big tentacle maybe was the part that had come out, or maybe it was one of the side tentacles when I finally decided to join. I had seen it when it was about a month in, and it was just a little fish and maybe her belly, so maybe it was month 2, but her face hadn't been revealed yet. And I did not see on Autumn Lane Stitchery anything with a face with the eyes open. So he does have a pattern. They have a pattern called Sakura, which is kind of a fancy lady, similar, that is a geisha, but her eyes are closed. So I really wanted to wait for that face reveal before I decided to do it, and it was gorgeous, and I fell in love. Sorry for the beeping, it's my herpostat. And it is stitched on, sorry, I didn't say what it was. It is stitched on the called for Bewitched linen from Under the Sea Fabrics on 28 count, and I am stitching it over 2. And that leads into Dark Queen of the Earth. Again, very long overdue, but I'm loving it. This is also stitched on the called for, what's it called? Nightshade by Under the Sea Fabric, opalescent, 28 count, 2 over 2. And I love both of these. I really hope to finish them. I will have a little bit at the end of planned starts, and one of my planned starts is the Sakura pattern. So I can kind of have all of Autumn Lane Stitchery's fancy ladies, is what I'm always referring to them as, started before hopefully the next queen comes out. I think they said 2025 maybe. So that will be exciting. Okay, and then my true fancy lady, this is Royal Holiday by Mirabilia. And I have just a little start on her dress. So, fold this fabric. So here's my little start. This is her knees, and this is kind of where her hand's going to be sitting, and her dress comes down. Now, I don't know why I did this. I ordered a whole half yard of fabric, and I started right in the middle. So I'm gonna have a lot of wasted fabric on the edge of this, which is so sad. I think it would have it fit on a fat quarter? I don't know, but I don't want to look it up because I don't want to be sad. And this is a 28 count opalescent linen by Picture This Plus in the color, it's the one I actually don't have written down. It is available pretty readily on Picture This Plus. I will put the color name down here below because all I have on my notes is 28 count opal Picture This Plus. And the one thing that maybe someone could answer me is from fabric dyers, it's normally called opal or opalescent when it's on 28 count linen, and Picture This Plus calls it crystal, but they call 32 count opal. Does anyone know why that is? I'm curious to know the answer if you know. But that is my one mirabilia I'm just slowly working on. Next, I'm actually almost done. I can't believe I thought I had more projects than this. I don't have that many. Is the Rare Horrifly Sal by Nocta Floral Design. I really hope I'm saying that right. And I love this one. This is stitched on 28 count opal linen by Fiberlicious Yummy Fiber in the color Secret Garden. This is another one that I do talk about in my first video that was a panic restart. And I had the original called for fabric and the final one ended up on this, and it is what it is. Again, I am really bad at keeping up with sals. I love them. I love the idea of them. My execution of them is questionable. And another sal is next. This is Garden of Oddities, or sorry, Greenhouse of Oddities by Lola Crow. And I started this at the beginning of April. I did not participate last year and I had major FOMO. I was so sad about it, but I could not decide on a fabric. I really loved the call for fabric. I believe it was a fiber on the whim, But my one complaint about that company is they don't do opal either. I love opal shiny fabric. So I ended up with this, which I think is really pretty. It is the green tea fabric by Under the Sea. And I think it's good for this pattern. It looks a lot greener on the website. So it does turn out this more muted, almost blue cool tone, which I really love. I think it's perfect. And my current project, the Deadly Aquarium, another stitch along by Lola Crow. And it is also stitched on 28 count opal linen by Under the Sea, and this one is called Winterbrook. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little disappointed with this fabric when it came because it was very blue. Now, oh, my little seagull's hiding. You gotta be able to see the gull. There he is. This online looks like it has more green undertones to it and like splotches of green, and it doesn't. It is really just this really pretty light blue. You can see it a little bit better without the reflection fabric, but there's no green to it. And that's okay. I think it's fine. I really think it complements this fabric well. And I'm planning on getting kind of like a complementary tan color to do Haunted Library on eventually. But if you're expecting it to be green, it's not green. And the name doesn't suggest that. Winterbrook, this makes sense. I actually think this would be the perfect fabric to restart my Nora Corbett reindeer on, if I was crazy enough to buy even more fabric for more restarts. And that is actually all my current WIPs. I did not count them as I was filming this, but I will put a number somewhere down on the screen of everything I have. The only other thing is my new start. So actually, before I start crinkling things, I'm gonna pause and go grab everything. So this is my May start. It is Bella Filipina, and I'm gonna just zoom in and let you read that name. And I'll put it bigger on the screen too in case you didn't look up in time. But this is a gorgeous mermaid. I think she is so pretty with all of her jewel tones. I did buy the called for fabric, which is Midnight Splendor from Fiberlicious Yummy Fibers. Of course, 28 count opalescent linen. I don't change much. I find what I like and I stick to it. And that will be a WIP the next time I film, because that will be my start. As soon as I'm done, I'm going to try to tie in some loose threads on my aquarium cell and then start on this today. And for the next little part, I just am going to pull out some planned starts. So these aren't starts I really have a date for, but I have in the back of my head that I want to start them soon. And they might be WIPs before I film again. I'm going to really try to stay to my May plans, but you know, good at planning, bad at execution. Plan starts, I have another Autumn Lane Stitchery pattern, and it is Tonight We Ride. This is one I wasn't actually planning on stitching. I wanted to stitch the collectors, but I got this fabric in a Friday Night Fight Night from Bewitched Me, just randomly. I was like the third or fourth commenter and just said, "Nix, please." Not really thinking anything of it, and then I got an invoice. She's like, "Oh, no one else wanted it." So again, 28 count linen opalescent. It is Pumpkin Patch by Bewitched Me. It is the call for fabric. So of course you have the call for fabric, you gotta get the pattern. I did order the physical copy of the pattern from their website, because they also had the matching needle minder still available on their website at the time, which I think is still there. So I have that. So it's like a little kit ready to start up whenever I want. This I don't have anything for. I only have one of, I believe, 12 patterns. It is Country Cottage Needlework. Oh, it's called Santa's Village, but this pattern is Mrs. Claus Cookie Shop. I just kind of impulse bought this at the stitching shop when I was there probably 5 years ago, and it came with a little button. And this is a series I do really want to do. I just have to find a neutral linen, opalescent of course, that I like. And then I'm planning on just maybe buying these all individually as I finish them. So I kind of make it the goal of you can't buy the next one until you finish the previous. This is a pattern my husband actually surprised me with on my birthday last year. I had just shown him like, "Oh, isn't this cute as a new release from Heaven and Earth Designs?" And he bought it for me. He bought the physical pattern too. It is Spirit of the Red Panda. And it's really pretty, but that is a lot of black. So this is one that I may or may not do anytime in the near future, but I really do love red pandas. It's one of my favorite animals, and my son really loves them, so it's kind of a bonding thing for us. And anytime we're near any zoo that has a red panda, we have to go. It's one of my favorite critters. Okay, and sorry, this one is going to crinkle a little bit because I want to unfold it because I do want some opinions. So I'm really hoping someone watches this video and has an opinion on this. So this is for, do I not have the pattern? Okay, well, I'll throw up a picture of the pattern. It is Amethyst Mermaid by Bella Filipina, and I ordered the call for fabric because I love how it looks in the photo. It is Twinkle by Bewitched Me, and this is not a complaint at all, but my piece came all blue with just a little purple and absolutely no pink into it except for right here, but most of that's going to be cut off. So if I stitch it right in the middle, you know, you're going to get the last, you know, like 4 inches to where she's pretty much going to be all on just the blue center. And I could off center it a little bit, but even if I off center it, it's still mostly blue. And I'm having a hard time imagining her on the blue, because in the photo, if I'm remembering correctly, it's like half purple, half pink, and the blue is kind of like accented throughout. And I've tried to take a picture of this fabric, take the background out, place it on there, size it to scale, and I'm still just undecided. So if anyone has stitched her on the call for fabric and your fabric looked more like this, could you guys tag me in a photo on Instagram or even email it to me? I would so appreciate it. I've scoured the Facebook groups. I can't find any finishes on the called for fabric at all, let alone on a piece that looks like mine. I have considered ordering another piece and just kind of luck of the draw, see what I get, and then I could give this away or sell it. in a D-stash group or something. But you know, with hand-dyed fabric, it's just kind of the risk you take. You know, they dye a bunch of it together, it all is going to look a little different. I'm just having a hard time imagining her, but she's one I really want to start. So if it would look good on this, I want to start her because, you know, I could just tie it into Mermaid May and forget the monogamous part and enjoy it. Because that was the other pattern that my husband had bought me. He had never bought me any cross-stitching stuff, and he surprised me last year, because I just turned 32 at the end of April, when I was 31, with that panda pattern, the Bella Filipina, and I think a couple like little notions. I'll have to look back. But it was just the sweetest thing, and I was so excited. And then I just have a fabric sitting here. This is Memory by Picture This Plus, and I custom ordered this during the pandemic for Sakura by Autumn Lane Stitchery. And it's, of course, 28 count linen opal. And it is one pattern I really wanted to do, but I started on my queens and I may start it. Sorry, my neighbor's walking by the window looking at me like I'm insane. I may start it before I finish one of those queens, but I kind of have a goal in the back of my head that if I finish one or both queens, I can kind of guilt-free start this one. This fabric took forever to come in. I bought it, I think, well before Dark Queen of the Sea. Oh, I would have had to have. Because I know it was during 2020 and it took over 2 years to come in. So that needs to start soon. And the last, okay, I found it. Here's the Bella Filipina I'm talking about. I should have put a picture earlier, but just in case. So yeah, so her fabric is actually like half pink, half blue more. But I'm just having a hard time imagining her tail on this and not losing these little fin details. That's what I'm scared about. So if you have an opinion, I really hope someone watches this. And if you watch this, please have an opinion and let me know what you think. I just really think that light blue is going to get lost. But I have one of the Nora Corbett fairies. This one is called Inkberry. And I want to stitch this on a little bit darker of a fabric, like maybe a mottled dark gray purple or something to make it a little bit more moody. But I really love her, and I do have the called for beads that have now been discontinued. So I'm really excited I bought those in time. I do really love her fairies, but I want to stitch one and make sure I like the process of stitching it before I buy a bunch more. They are getting slowly discontinued though. So that's, maybe I should hurry up on that. Okay, and then, I'm sorry, I'm gonna crinkle one more time. Pause your earphones. Okay. My order from 123 Stitch did come in, and I got 3 more pieces of 28 count doubloon linen from Picture This Plus. It is not opalescent. And I'm gonna stitch 3 more Santas on it this year. My plan would be to start these now and get them within like 300 stitches of finishes so I can finish them and get some extra points during Frogwarts. At least that's my goal right now. We'll see if it happens. This is like my millionth time restart. So I'd like to get this one started and finished. But that would give me 3 smalls. That will probably have to wait till June to start, but you know, it's me. You never know. And I think that is all I have. I had one, nope, that's a lie. I had one little thing I wanted to show you, but I don't know where it is now. Nope, it's right there. Okay, I'm just gonna clip this on a piece of fabric. So the one other thing I do have is a very small collection of Clay by Kim needle minders. I love her little dragons and I just think they're so cute and they keep me company while I'm stitching. And this is one that I kind of bought myself for my birthday. She was calling it, I think, her raindrop dragons or spring rain dragon. But it was released last Thursday right after Earth Day, and my birthday is Earth Day. So I kind of was thinking it more as an Earth Day dragon, and it's probably the last one I'll buy for a while, but it was my new acquisition of this week and I really love him. I think I am up to 8 dragons now. They are so hard to get. I missed every single Christmas and fall one that I wanted. If anyone else buys Clay by Kim, let me know what you think of her spring releases and if they're easier to get. My very first one was was early March of last year. It was the cherry dragon, the cherry blossom sakura dragon. And I got it and I was amazed, and I bought a few more throughout the spring, one more at the summer, and at the end of the summer until about 2 weeks ago, I bought the purple amethyst ones that she came out with about the middle of April, I want to say. I missed every single one that I wanted to try for. I didn't try every week, I will say that. But the ones I wanted to, like full on, my website barely loaded in time. And I actually managed, like 2 weeks ago on accident, I ordered 2 of the poppies. So somehow I'm getting the ones I want in the spring and in the early summer, or even 2 of them. But I can't get anything during the fall, Halloween, Christmas time. So let me know if you guys order Clay by Clam. Is it a seasonal thing? Do you think people are more interested in the holiday ones? You can't get them? I don't know. Food for thought, I guess. If you have any questions for me, please leave them below in the comments. I have a lot of cleanup to do, and I think that is all I have. So thank you so much for joining me. Happy stitching!